Today we're going to make a veloute derivative called a supreme. So it'll be a veloute supreme with mushrooms. And we're going to introduce a new technique as well as the mother sauce veloute and making a blonde roux. So your mise en place is going to be a saute pan, a wire whisk, your chef knife, a high heat spatula. You're going to need a container with mushrooms and shallots. You're going to need a container with butter. You're going to need a container with wine, flour. We've got chicken stock and some heavy cream. Here are my sliced mushrooms and minced shallots, which is how your ingredients will look before you start cooking. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and preheat our pan, and as we have been doing, we're going to take our butter and we are going to start melting that. Now we're going to be using a technique today called the Singer technique, spelled S-I-N-G-E-R, so it sounds like or looks like singer, but it's pronounced Singer. And what we're going to do is we are going to saute our vegetables with the butter. And then after the vegetables have been sauteed in the butter and we've reduced out all the moisture, we're going to sprinkle flour in and actually build a roux with the vegetables embedded into it. And that way we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. We can make our roux and saute our vegetables at the same time. So again, we want to preheat our pan. And it may seem like a lot of butter, but again, we're going to do equal parts butter and flour. So this is 1 ounce of butter, and we are going to saute first our shallots, and then just like when we did our other sauces, we're going to add the mushrooms. And again, mushrooms have a lot of moisture in them, so we want to be careful to make sure that all that moisture is pushed out before we add our flour. Again, we're not trying to caramelize the shallots, we're not trying to turn them to a different color. We just want to get them cooked so that we get the aroma and the flavor, a little bit of translucency. And then we're going to go ahead and add our mushrooms. And again, our mushrooms will do a little protection because they have moisture in them. And as that moisture pushes out, it prevents the shallots from burning. Because this is a light colored sauce, so we don't want to have too dark of pieces in it. I did turn the heat down a little bit, which is totally acceptable. Again, you can see the butter, not a big deal. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, now that we're getting that nice blonde roux color, we're going to deglaze with our white wine. And we'll probably go through and do a second deglazing with our chicken stock. And at this point, we can use our wire whisk, kind of break up the roux a little bit. We're going to bring this to a simmer. And we're going to reduce this down. So a basic veloute is basically going to be chicken stock and blanc roux. We're making a derivative sauce by adding the mushrooms and the shallots, and we'll finish it with heavy cream. We don't want to put the cream in until we're done reducing, because we don't want to burn the cream or scorch it. So we're going to reduce this similar to what we did with our chasseur sauce, and we're going to bring this down to almost au sec. In other words, we're going to pull out as much moisture as we can on this, and we'll reintroduce moisture with our cream, which will give it a nice rich flavor. So we haven't seasoned anything yet. We're just going to let it reduce right now. So this is a good look at the simmer that we brought this veloute up to. As you can see, we've got a pretty aggressive simmering going on, almost a boil. And what we're doing is, again, allowing it to do this for about 10 or 15 minutes so that we can get that moisture out and push out all the water. Okay, it's been about 7 or 8 minutes, and you can see that it's starting to thicken up. It's starting to look more like a sauce, less watery. It's almost coating the spoon. And we're almost ready to bring it down a little bit more, and then we'll add our cream. So if we were going to go ahead and use this as a standard veloute, I would say we're at that stage right now where we've reduced it down to where we're at the nappe consistency. You can see how thick it is compared to what it was about 10 or 15 minutes ago. I'm going to go a little bit further with it because we're going to reintroduce liquid with the cream. So at this point, it's almost turning into like a gravy mixture where you can see it's nice and thick. The volume is a lot less. So we're going to go ahead and add our heavy cream. So I'm going to turn my heat down because I don't want to burn the cream. The cream has a lot of fat in it. And one of the things you're going to see when we add the cream is it's going to change the texture. It's going to become a little bit more velvety. It's going to be a little bit more smoother, and it's going to have a richer look to it. So I'm just going to kind of whisk that through. And I'm just going to heat it up through at this point, but I caution you, now that the cream is in there, we want to be very careful not to burn the bottom. So you want to make sure you're carefully watching the bottom. But as you can see, the sauce is nice and thick, it's rich, it's luxurious looking, and it will have the exact viscosity that we're looking for. And we'll check it for seasoning now. A little bit of salt and pepper. Make sure our heat's not too high. Now you're going to have some extra, which we're going to save because, believe it or not, this can easily be transformed into a cream of mushroom soup. Okay, so at the time of service, we're ready to get our pieces of chicken. Put it right here. Okay. And then I've got some extra fresh parsley from our last couple days. You can go ahead and do a little sprinkle on that. And there you go. We'll have our chicken with a veloute au supreme.